One amazing thing I learned in the Holy Talmud, the Gemara today, is all about Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda was teaching all these tips, really hacks and ideas for daily living for holy sages who live in part poverty. Which is very interesting. One of them is that if a person can't afford meat of certain kinds, like nice meat, he should buy the neck. Why? I mean, before we answer that question, can we think for a minute, this holy text about teachings, about God's will, about obligations and light and holy things, what is there doing mixed into here? A teaching about neck meat. Okay, that's one question. And also, what does neck meat have to do with anything, for the Torah scholars ought to think about? And why should we, if you're a Torah scholar and you're a holy sage and mystic and you don't have enough meat, why should that be a concern at all? Okay, so what he says is that if you don't have your ability to buy wealthy meat, you should buy the neck because it has all three flavors of meat in the neck meat, which is okay, fine. So it's a beautiful hack on being in poverty. Buy the neck, and the neck has a lot of flavor, and that flavor will satiate the body, and the body will be happier. And we know that it says in the Torah, in the Pirkei Avos, it says that a person who, Ezehu Asher, who is a wealthy person, someone who's Sameach B'chelko, someone who's satisfied with his lot in life. The ultimate example of that in the Breslov literature, which is gorgeous, is the simpleton and the sophisticate. The simpleton is always happy with everything he has. He has these three-cornered shoes that he makes, and they seem like kind of dysfunctional and defective, and yet he is still happy with what he creates all the time. He goes on to be very successful in the story in other ways, because Rabbi Nachman says it wasn't that he was stupid or foolish, it's just that he was simple and had beautiful faith in everything he was doing at the time. So we won't go deep into that now, it's for another time. However, that's a good example of someone who's Sameach B'chelko, whatever level in life we're at, and whatever portion that God has apportioned for us, we get satisfied with that, then we're going to be happy in this life. Good. Makes sense. If I'm wealthy, I need to be happy with my wealth and not think that I need more. And I can't believe it. My brother, is not being nice to me because, I won't give him an extra whatever, And poor people too, that I don't have enough and I need to find a way to accept that, and that's the way it is. And middle class too. Every level of finance and wealth and situation of health and so on. Now, Rav Dessler in the Michtav Eliyahu, in the beginning section we've been learning together in Achabura, and Rabbi Shoshan was teaching us, he talks about this, that people in this world are seeking happiness. We all want to be happy. Baby, mom, parents are all saying this generation, honey, I just want you to be happy. Well, we see he goes systematically. The rich are not happy. They're always worried about, my friend has a nicer car and I can't, the vacation didn't work out. They didn't have my reservation right, and my kids are now using drugs, and this is horrible, and how come they don't have the work ethic that I do? Myself and other therapists, we see this all the time. We have wealthy clients sometimes, and they're not any happier than other people. They have a lot of problems. Even if they look on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, they look like they're having the better life. Not necessarily at all. Not at all. Then you have the middle class, and he points out they're always working to get to the place where they could have happiness. Okay. Or to get to the place where we have happiness. And it's sad because sometimes when they get there, they're withered or they die before they get there. And then they were always suffering on the way. That's not good. And poor have worries and suffering and debt and all these other things. So if you take a cross-section of all those people, like who is actually happy and contented, it's the people who have spiritual fulfillment. And people who are being satiated and fulfilled from something deeper. And by that sense of fulfillment, there's an inner compass, an inner knowing, and an inner experience that is so nice for them that they just feel good, and in feeling good, they're happy. So they're satisfied with what they have in their situation, and partly because they're having a deeper experience. So spiritual fulfillment is So we know that the path of religiousness and spirituality, Rabbi Shoshan mentioned someone who had become very much more religious, and he said that the Torah path is the greatest retirement plan. Because when we retire, like, what's going to be, what do we have? If our young strength and vigor is gone, and we don't feel good anymore, then what are you going to be happy with? But if you have spiritual fulfillment now, in the future, and at that time, it'll be good. So let's go back to the neck. What does the neck have to do with it? It's very interesting. Because like this. So what we're saying, and I think we could all agree, and I don't think if you're listening to this and still listening, you're probably on the same wavelength, to say that a person who's satisfied in his lot and has spiritual fulfillment through prayer, through study, through connecting to others, through service, through being a good person in the world and fixing, helping with problems, goals that have value, that are really helpful to the world, that person is really fulfilled inside. But also, some people still have the path of poverty. And Rav Chisda was saying, I think, my interpretation is almost saying, in the art scroll, I think in the name of the Maharsha and the Maharal, I have to look and double check, but I think that's what I read, that even on the level of Gashmias, which means even on the level of physical, there is, if a person takes a Ruchnius approach, a spiritual approach, he can find actual physical enjoyment also. In other words, you would think that really only if you have the wealth will you enjoy 3 types of meat, the expensive, beautiful cuts of meat. And what's so enjoyable about them is really the taste and the experience. And that's a physical thing. So he's saying that not only if you're impoverished and you're working hard to grow close to God and you're in a divine path, will you be able to have spiritual fulfillment. Hidden in that path is also physical fulfillment. That even there are, and he's giving a tip. He's saying the tip is this. If you can't afford to buy 3 fancy cuts of meat, buy the neck. Because hidden in the neck is the 3 types of spiritual, 3 delicious tastes of fulfillment that can be in the meat. So a person will have 3 kinds of meat, all hidden in the neck, and it will get the satiation also on the physical level. So that's an amazing concept. So now that we think, wow, we're actually showing how a person who goes on the spiritual path can also have the physical fulfillment. And not just spiritual, which overrides the physical, but even the spiritual, which unlocks the physical. And inside the physical, we end up having the geschmack, the delicious experience anyways. That's awesome. Now, such a teaching like that belongs in the holy text. Now we can answer it. It belongs in the holy text. It's giving a tip, and it's life advice. And it goes to show you that our holy sages, the superheroes of spirituality, are also giving us beautiful advice about how to live that both have depth and are not, they're teaching us how to shop at Trader Joe's. If you don't have much money, get the neck or go to the butcher. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's it. So we should know that we should find our path of fulfillment and know that whatever level of income, whatever level of situation we're on, not only will we find more spiritual fulfillment by going down an inner path of spiritual growth and fulfillment, we'll also find the physical if we look and open our eyes and trust the advice of our holy sages, the superheroes, spirituality. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Good Mood Coach over and out.